Hello guys, how are you? So we are going to start MCQs, first chapter practice activity based costing practice from Kaplan. I'm going to start Kaplan, okay, and we'll do the practice from here. And obviously, I'll guide you in future as well that from where you have to do the practice for your assignment or for your further practice, right? So let us start. So first MCQ. Okay, so first MCQ is that a company produces the range of products. A company produces a range of products and uses an absorption costing system. Which two of the following are unlikely to be consequence of company switching to the ABC system? Like what he's saying, actually he is saying that companies normally using ABC. Now they want to shift to ABC, but ABC system, but actually they are asking that which of the following are unlikely to be the consequence, that which are not the consequence. If they are like writing like which are the consequence, we have to tell the consequences, but actually we have to tell unlikely to be the consequence. Unlikely means that which are not to be the consequence to shift to ABC system. So if you see, we have to tell which two of the following. Okay, two of the following. Okay, indirect overhead will be shared between product on fairer basis. This is the consequence. This is the consequence. We have to tell which is not the consequence. How it is the consequence? Obviously, if the overheads are shared on the proper basis, this is one of the main reason companies are shifting from absorption to ABC, because they want to divide the overheads on fair basis. This is the consequence. We have to tell which are not the consequence. Product pricing decision will be improved. This is the consequence. Obviously, when the production overhead will be calculated correctly, cost per unit will be correct, and if cost per unit is correct, pricing will be correct, because the correct cost per unit plus profit will give you correct selling price. So this is the consequence. We have to tell which of the following is not the consequence. Okay, the prime production cost of each product will fall. So if we talk about prime production cost, it is not the consequence, because prime cost is not having the issue. Prime cost is the direct cost. So there is no issue of direct cost whether you are using absorption or you are using ABC. That cost is not in the link with that topic. Only the overheads were the main issue, that bases are not used properly in absorption. So prime cost is having no issue. So that's why it is not any consequence. Cost control on indirect overheads will be harder to achieve. No, again, it's not the consequence. When you are shifting from absorption to ABC, then cost control is more easier. Obviously, when you are using ABC, you know the proper basis, proper cost driver, so you can control the overheads easily. He is writing that cost control on indirect overheads will be harder to achieve. That's not the consequence. So third and fourth statement are not the consequence. Okay, total production cost of each product will change. Obviously, when production overhead will be changed, total production cost will be changed. But these third and fourth statement, that are not the consequence, not linked with the ABC system. Second, a company which makes two products, alpha and zeta, uses ABC to absorb its overheads. It has recently identified a new overhead cost pool for inspection cost. So there is new cost pool, that is inspection cost, and has decided the cost driver is number of inspection. Basically, he's also asking for only one type of overhead. If you remember the assignment, there are five types of overheads. If you remember the question, we have done the class four types of overheads. But obviously, in MCQ will not solve like that much long question. He's giving just one overhead, that is inspection cost. And for that inspection overhead, he is telling the cost driver as well, that is number of inspections for alpha and zeta. Okay, the total inspection cost, he has told you the total overhead, that is 250,000. And now number of inspection is the base. Number of inspection is the base, obviously. Now what he has given under the question, some data, alpha and zeta, production volume units, machine hours per unit, units per batch, inspection per batch. Okay. So now what they are saying to us, we have to calculate what is the inspection cost per unit for alpha. Actually, just we have to calculate inspection cost is the overhead, right? We have to calculate production overhead per unit, and we know production overhead per unit for the overhead per unit, we have to calculate OAR per unit. But you will use here ABC, right? So inspection overhead 250,000. Number of inspections is the base. Let us calculate that as well. Then we'll calculate OAR, then production overhead per unit for A. Okay. So what is the number of inspection? Let us calculate the total number of inspections. If we see, it's written inspection per batch. Inspection, the same case as we have done in plus and double plus in the question. Inspection per batch mean that this is not the total inspections. It is per batch inspection. So we will calculate. We will see that how many batches are there. So inspection per batch is 4 and 1 for alpha and zeta, and we'll see how much batches we are making. So the the upper point, it's written units per batch, 500 and 1000. This is something technical. It's not written number of batches 500 and 1000. Students think that units per batch, it's basically number of batches. No, boys, no. Actually, units per batch, what it means? That one batch is having how much units? Actually, for alpha and zeta, they are telling you for 500 and 1000 means that in alpha 1 batch 500 units are there, and zeta 1 batch 1000 units are there. It is not the number of batch. Okay, so number of batches are given. Machine hours, no. Production over production volume, units given. So there in the question directly number of batches are not given, but we can calculate. Why? How? See, it's written units per batch. Units per batch mean that one batch is including 500 units for alpha. So we will see that is there any number of units, total number of units given in this question? Yes, it's written here. It's written here. See, production units is 2500 and 8000. From here, we can calculate the number of batches. From here, we can calculate the number of batches. So I am going to calculate the number of batches. How? See, alpha has total 2500 units. Total 2500 units. And units per batch, like one batch includes 500 units. So we can calculate the number of batches. Just divide total units divided by units per batch. So actually, answer is 5. It means alpha has total 5 batches. Let me prove it. 5 batches means 500 units in one batch. 500 into 5, 2500 total units. Yes, 2500 total units are there. Same for beta. 8000 divided by 1000. Why I am doing it? It's not written number of batches, it's units per batch. So 8 batches here. So from there, we can calculate the number of batches first. 5 and 8 are the batches. Now we don't need the we need the batches, but actually at last, finally, we need the inspections, number of inspections. Now it's written inspection per batch, and we are now aware of number of batches. So just multiply inspections into batch, 4 into 5. Total number of inspections 20, 1 into 8, total number of inspections 8. So 20 plus 8 inspections are 28. From this data, firstly we have to calculate complete number of inspections in the business. That comes 28. Now we will calculate OAR, because using OAR we can calculate production overhead per unit. So OAR will be 250,000 cost pool divided by cost driver 28. 250,000 divided by 28 is 250,000 divided by 28 is 89 to 8.57. 8928.57. 8928.57. This is the OAR, but it is 8928.57 per inspection. Per inspection, we have calculated the cost, the OAR actually. Now, what we have to do, we have to calculate the inspection overhead per unit for alpha. So how we will do that? We know that using that same OAR 8928.57 per inspection, and now we'll see that how many inspections was done for alpha. So number of inspections, how much inspections was there? Inspections was 20. Don't use here 4, because 4 is not total number of inspections of alpha. Total number is 20 because it was inspection per batch. We need total number of inspection. So we'll do multiply 20. So if we do it multiply with 20, it will be 17857 71.43. It is total overheads that are being absorbed to alpha with respect to inspection cost. So inspection cost, first we have calculated OAR. OAR was that 8928 per inspection, multiply number of inspection of alpha, we calculate total absorbed cost to alpha. Now 178,571.53 is the total overheads, and what he is asking, what is the inspection cost? Not total, per unit. Per unit. So how many units for alpha are there? 2500. Just divided by 2500 to calculate per unit. Divided by 2500, it is 178,571.53 divided by 2500, it's 71.43. It's 71.43 the inspection cost per unit for alpha. C is the answer. Charlie is the answer. 71.43. Okay. Now let us discuss the next MCQ. Which of the following statements are true regarding ABC? True regarding ABC and cost drivers. Like ABC concept, we know. Again, it's a theoretical question. So it's written a cost driver is any factor. A cost driver is any factor that causes the change in the cost of an activity. That's correct. Because it's a factor that causes the change. It's a base. Obviously, this is the definition of cost driver. It's correct. Secondly, for the long-term variable overhead cost driver will be volume of activity. So they're saying that for the long-term variable overhead cost. So variable cost, we know from the basic knowledge that variable cost depends on volume, depends on units. The main issue is for the fixed overheads like inspection cost, like setup cost, that's the fixed cost. But for the variable cost, variable overhead cost, the cost driver can be the volume of activity. Yes, it's correct, because variable cost means depending upon units, volume of activity. More volume, more variable cost. If volume is not being produced, variable overhead will not be incurred. So for variable overhead cost, it can be volume of activity. Traditional absorption costing tends to under allocate overheads to low volume products. Okay, what he's saying here, let us discuss. Actually, they're saying that absorption costing, what it do? It under allocate the overhead cost. Under allocate means it assigns less cost to the product which have low volume units. Like for example, we have two products A and B. A has 10 units and B has 1000 units. So obviously in absorption costing, they don't see that overheads as a specific basis like certain number of setups, number of sessions. No, they just go to the labor hours, machine hours, or units. They take the basis directly units or directly labor hours. Even it's the base, it's a correct base or not, right? So what they do, obviously 10 number of units and 1000 units of units will use less labor hours and less machine hours, and more units will take more labor hours, more machine hours. So obviously the product with the low volume, obviously it's lower than B. Low volume, the overheads will be assigned lower here and higher in this case according to absorption, because absorption doesn't see that the number of setups, number of batches, number of orders. No, ABC. Absorption doesn't see it. ABC sees it. ABC focuses on it that if the base is higher, even the units are lower. If the base are higher, like for example, A is making 10 units, B is making 1000 units. But if A is having two setups and B is having one setup, so setup cost will be divided according to number of setups, not labor hours. But absorption, what it do, the base, the product with the low volume, low units, it under allocate overhead cost means it assign less cost, less overhead to that product which is having low volume. So it is correct option, because if we read it again, absorption costing tends to under allocate means assign less cost, less overhead cost to low volume product. Yes, it's the main issue of absorption costing, and it's correct. So answer will be D. 1, 2, and 3. All options are correct. All options are correct. Okay, next question is the company makes the product A and B. It is experimenting. It is experimenting with ABC. Okay, A and B are the product and they are using ABC. Production setup cost is 12,000. Setup cost is 12,000. Okay, let us see more about it. Total production will be 20,000 units of each product A and B. Okay, there are two products A and B. So they're asking both, for both the units are 20,000. For both the units are 20,000. Okay, each run means that when it's a production run, basically each run means setup. Each setup is 1000 units of A and 5000 units of B. Means the units that are being made in each run, each setup. So A is making 1000 units per run. Run is basically setup. And B is making 5000 units per run or per setup. Okay. Now they are asking using ABC, what is the setup cost per unit of A? Again, never be worried about that. Whenever this type of question comes, do the normal question. First calculate OAR. That is cost pool. Cost pool is 12,000. Setup cost we have to, and divided by number of setups we need. Divided by number of setups we need. Now they have not given us the number of setups. They told us that each run is having this number of units. Just same like here when we were doing the question here, it's written inspection per batch, but batches were not given. The item given was units per batch. So we do total production units divided by units per batch to calculate the batch. Same here. Same here, we know number of units, total number of units 20,000 and 20,000, and we know that each setup has 1000 units of A and each setup has 5000 units of B. So what we will do, we will divide just total number of units by divided by number of units per setup, we'll get total setups. So total setups I am going to calculate for A and B. Number of setups I am saying 20,000 divided by 1000 means that A has total 20 setups. Obviously, if one setup is having 1000 units, A is being made 20,000 units. So 20,000 divided by 10,000, 20 setups here. 20 setups here, and for B 20,000 divided by 5,000, 4 setups here. Means we have for A 20 setups, for B 4 setups, totaling it 24 setups. Totaling 24 setups means we know that our base total number of setups is calculated 24. So just divide in OAR in the OAR formula, 12,000 divided by 24. It is 500. It is $500 per setup. The OAR comes $500 per setup. The wait a minute, per setup. Okay. So it is 500 per setup, but we don't need OAR. We need something further. Something further calculation we have to do. We have to calculate setup cost per unit of A. Okay. Okay. For A, what we will do? It was per setup 500 per setup multiply. How many setups A is having? 20. How many setups A is having? 20. So just multiply it with 20 to calculate total cost that is being gone to A. 500 into 20 is 10,000. It means to A, to the product A, $10,000 will be absorbed. Out of complete overheads, the complete overheads were 12,000. So out of 12,000, 10,000 will go to A. Obviously, A is having more setup, 20 setups as compared to B, which is having 4 setups. So 20 setups, 500 for 20 setups, 10,000 cost will be allocated. Now, if he's asking that tell the setup cost, total setup cost of A, then I will say it's 10,000. But they are not saying total, they are saying per unit, per unit. So just divide it by the units, divided by the units, number of units are 20,000. So 10,000 divided by 20,000, it will be 0 0.5. 0 0.5. It will be 0 0.5. Or you can say here, okay, 0 0.5 is okay. 0 0.5 is also 0 0.5. Sometimes it's written here, dollar 0.5. If it's written here cents, let me tell that, then we'll write 50 cents. Sometimes in exam it's written cents. You have to write 50 cents for dollar 0.5. Okay, after that, there is a theoretical MCQ. Theoretical MCQ we have to do now. So, which of the following statement is true regarding ABC? Is true regarding ABC? So, a cost pool, basically the overhead, budget overheads, is an activity which consumes resources for which overheads costs are identified and allocated. Okay, correct definition. Basically, cost pool is like this is a setup cost. Setup, like setup is the activity for which obviously cost driver is being managed. Cost driver is being basically cost driver is the base that is being used to increase or decrease the cost. Obviously if the base is increasing, cost will be increased. Base is decreasing, cost will be decreased. So cost pool is an activity which consumes the resources, yes, for which overhead costs are identified and allocated. So one option is correct. Second, an ABC OAR is calculated in the same way as absorption OAR and will result in same OAR being calculated for each pool. No, there is a huge difference. There is a big fight between absorption and ABC. OAR under ABC is calculated obviously in a different way, different method, and under absorption, different method. But he is saying will result in same OAR being calculated. No, 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 no. Only one option. A only. One only, sorry. After that, again, there is some question, some calculation question in which it's written, what is the setup cost per unit of B? This time he has told you about the setup cost. And I think same question like in the past we have done two questions back. Okay, production setup cost. Here setup cost is 84,000. Setup cost is 84,000. Total production units. Again, 40,000 for each product. A and B both have 40,000 and 40,000 production units. And now again, each run is having 200,000 units of A, 5,000 units of B. We know that if units, it's given units per setup, units per run or units per setup means to calculate total number of setups, just divide by the units of setup, units per setup as we have done before. So divide by 2,000 and divide by 5,000. So it's 20 and it's 8. Means 20 setups here, 8 setups here. Total, these are 28 setups. Total, these are 28 setups. Total is 28 setups. 20 plus 8, 28 setups. Now you get the total number of setups. Just calculate OAR first. OAR is budgeted overheads means post pool 84,000 divided by 28. 84,000 divided by 28. It's 3,000. It's 3,000 per setup. It's 3,000 per setup. It's 3,000 per setup. Now we have to calculate for B. So for B, what we'll do first, 3,000 per setup. And how many setups we were having? We were having how many setups? Think about it. See the number of setups of B. 8. 8 setups. So multiply 8 means total cost that has been absorbed for B is 24,000. It's the total overheads. But we need per unit, just divide by its units. Its units are 40,000. Its units are 40,000. So answer will be $0.60 or in cents, it's 60 cents. Clear? They're not technical, just you have to focus on the points of ABC concept. If you have done the lecture, done the assignment properly, and reviewed that properly, the MCQs are not the big game. Okay, next question they have given you here. Okay. The ABC company manufacture two products, alpha and beta. Both are produced in very labor intensive environment and use similar processes. Alpha and beta differ by volume. Beta is high volume product, alpha is low volume product. Details are given. Direct labor hours per unit, and as he has told us that alpha is low volume and its high volume is it's being proved here. Obviously 1,200 and 12,000, a lot of difference. Number of purchase orders, number of setups. Okay, fixed overhead total amounting to 420,000 and has been analyzed as follows. Okay, they have given you the obviously the breakdown of the overheads. 4,25,000 is breakdown into three types of overheads. Now what he's saying, using the traditional method of overheads, traditional method means old method, absorption method, based on the labor hours. They have already told you that we have to use the labor hours. What is the overhead cost per unit for each unit of alpha? We have to calculate production overhead per unit. We have to calculate the production overhead per unit. Okay, let us calculate it. OAR, first budgeted overheads. We have to use the total overheads right now because it's not ABC. For 20,000, for 20,000 total overhead I have used it divided by total base. Okay, let us calculate total base. Total base is labor hours. We have labor hours per unit. Let's calculate it. So multiply by units, 1,200 into 5, 6,000 and 12,000 into 5, 60,000. So totaling it, the total labor hours are 66,000. Total labor hours are 66,000. We'll divide by total labor hours 66,000 and we'll get the OAR per labor hour. For 20,000 divided by 66,000, it's 6.3636 per labor hour. Per labor hour. Now we know that obviously the wait, production overhead per unit will calculate it directly. We know that 3.633636 per labor hour means that for every labor hour, obviously this amount of dollars will of overheads will be incurred. Right now, we will calculate production overhead per unit here directly. For ABC, first we calculate the total absorbed overheads, then we divide, at last we divide by units. But in the case, if it's absorption costing, then you don't need to calculate full total overheads being absorbed. Then after divided by doing the units, divided by units, don't do that. Just directly calculate how. You know that the base is 6.3636 per labor hour, and just find out that how much labor hours alpha was having, because we need to calculate production hours per unit for alpha. So how much labor hours per unit, not total. Actually, in total, they have calculated 6,000. We can do multiply 6,000 and then divide by 1,200, but no need to do that. Just multiply it with that how many hours one unit of labor is taking, one unit of alpha is taking. So multiply 5. So do it multiply 5. It's 31.82. It's $31.82. It's $31.82. Okay, so it's 31.82. Now 31.82 means that one unit of alpha will take this amount of overheads. And for the beta, let us calculate for beta as well. If they have asked you for alpha, the answer we have already calculated. But for beta, what we will do, obviously for beta as well, the OAR will be same 3.63 3636 multiply. Obviously, we need how much labor hours one unit of beta is taking. It's again same. Obviously, both are 5 and 5. So multiply 5, again same answer for beta as well. It's 38.31.82. Now, what student says, what student normally thinks? Student think that units are more here and less here. Then why? Then why it is the answer is same? Actually, we are not calculating according to the units. We're calculating according to the labor hours. Base was labor hour and it was 3.6360 per labor hour. Like one labor hour will cost you 6.36 overheads. So both are taking same labor hours. So both overheads per unit will be same. Yes, in case we are calculating total. Like for example, we are calculating like 6.3636 multiply first 6,000, multiply first 6,000 to calculate total cost of alpha, then divide by 1,200. And when we'll do for beta, we'll do 6.36 into 36 into 12,000. The answer will come, and again we will divide by 12,000. In alpha, we have to divide to calculate per unit. We will divide the total overhead that was absorbed by 1,200. But in beta, we'll divide by 12,000. So again, answer will come same. Answer will not be wrong. Again, answer will come same. So per unit, actually per unit is same because labor hours per unit was same. Why I have done it for beta? Because in the next question, they have given you the same formula. Now they are asking cost per unit for beta. So again, 31.8 we have already calculated. The same question he's asking for beta, we have already done here. So it was a concept I was telling you so that in the exam you are not like doing it again and again. If two products are having same direct labor hours per unit, their production overhead per unit will be same. No issue to calculate it again and again, right? And it's only the case in absorption. In ABC, we'll calculate different OARs. Okay, the question I think is again the same. Again, the same question. Even one word is not changed in the question, but in the requirement, it's changed. Now he is asking us to calculate using ABC. Using ABC, what is the overhead cost per unit for each unit of alpha? Now we have to calculate completely. Now we know we have three types of overheads. We'll calculate three types of OAR. Let us calculate. First OAR will calculate will be volume related. VR means volume related. That is 100,000. Now let us see that for volume related. Volume related means volume related overhead means that it will be according to the base will be the units or labor. And obviously in the last questions we have used labor as our base. So volume related will use here labor as the base, and where it's written labor intensive environment we'll use labor base. If it's written machine intensive environment we'll use machine base. The intensive environment means that the focus is on this part. Like if labor intensive means labor is working more, so we'll take that base in volume related. So let us use the volume related base, labor hours as a base. So divided by 100,000 is, I think, yes, OAR, cost pool, numerator, in denominator, we'll write total labor hours we have calculated here, right? It was 66,000 labor hours. How? We have just multiplied both of them and then we calculated 66,000. So first OAR we have calculated is 100,000 divided by 66,000. It's 1.515 per labor hour. It's 1.515 per labor hour. And base, how I've calculated 6,000 this one and 66,000 this one. Okay. Now, second OAR will be purchase related, PR purchase related 145,000 divided by purchase related has a cost driver. Obviously, purchase related means that it is depending on the number of purchase orders as it's given here. And if you see, they have given you the total number of purchase orders, not the purchase order per batch or per setup. No, complete. So we'll use this base 160 divided by 160. So 145,000 divided by 160, it will be 906.25 per purchase order. 906.25 per purchase order. Okay, and third OAR we also calculate here. Third OAR is setup related. Setup related, S means setup related. It's 175,000. 175,000 divided by the base will be number of setups and it there 100. So it's 1750 per setup. Now we have three OAR, 1, 2, and 3. And now we will calculate the proper, will absorb it properly. And we have to calculate only for, I think so, alpha. So we'll do the calculation of only alpha. First, it was volume related overheads. The OAR was 1.515 per labor hour. Multiply. Now, if I will use this per unit base, the answer will come in per unit or overhead per unit. But obviously, in ABC, I've told you don't calculate per unit first, calculate in total because other overheads we can't calculate per unit. So we'll calculate the total at once for all the overheads and after that we'll divide on units to calculate per unit. So just multiply it with the alpha's total labor hours, that was 6,000. That was 6,000. 6,000 into 1.515. It is 9091. It is almost $9091 of overheads. $9091 of overheads that were volume related, that were absorbed to alpha. After that, there is purchase related. OAR was 906.25. 906.25 multiply. How many purchase order alpha is having? 75. Multiply 75. 906.25 multiply 75. It's 67968.75. The overheads absorbed from total. The overheads absorbed were 67968. Okay. Okay. Now the other setup related, it's 1750 per setup. It's written here 1750 per setup. So it's like setup cost 1750 per setup into number of setups. Alpha is having 40. Just multiply with 40. 70,000. Now we have three overheads for alpha. Three I have just make the in the box, written in the box. So just calculate total it up 70,000 plus 9091 plus 67968.75. Total overheads is 147,059.75. When I total all of the overheads, 147,059.75 divided by number of units because we have to calculate per unit. So number of units alpha is having is 1200. 1200. So it answer is 122.55. 122. When I divided by number of units 1200, answer comes C. Answer was C. So this was a complete entire OAR concept again revised here. Okay. So now this is the question that you have to do as the assignment. What you have to calculate, just fixed overhead absorbed into each unit of B. You have to do the assignment. You have to do the assignment and submit it to me. If you are not doing it, again assignment, I told you not to leave. You can try. I know always you can't do the right 100% right assignment. I know that there's some technical issues, some theoretical. So, like I know, but no, it will not work that if you are not just ignoring the assignment and not doing that, it is not the good thing. Submit it to me properly. Okay. Okay, let's do it as well. Let's do it as well. A company is changing its costing system from traditional to obviously ABC, traditional absorption costing to ABC. It has an overhead of 156,000 which are related to taking material deliveries. The delivery information is given here. Okay, basically 156,000 is the delivery cost, delivery overhead, right? And information given here. Total labor cost is also given. Each unit of each product takes the same number of direct labor. Assuming the company uses number of deliveries as its cost driver, what will be the effect on the cost per unit? Cost per unit following the change from absorption to activity based costing. Actually, they are saying that first the company was using absorption costing, using labor hours as the base, using labor hours as the base. But now the game is different. Now they are using the delivery sizes as their base, means using ABC. So we have to tell that what is the effect on cost per unit. If, for example, product X cost per unit was $2 under absorption and $3 under ABC, we'll say the cost per unit is increased. So let us calculate. First, we'll use the mm, okay. First, we will use absorption. Absorption. In absorption, we'll calculate the OAR, budgeted overheads, total delivery overheads, 156,000. And in absorption, we are using labor hours as a base. So labor hours, they have told you in total 45,000 hours, because we have to use the total labor hours. They have told you 156,000 divided by 45,000. It's 3.467. 3.467. Okay. Now it's like it is a concept like one labor hour is obviously you can say that mm, 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 mm. Okay. The main issue is we have calculated here, but labor hour is a base, but actually labor hours per unit are not given in the question. There is an issue because if OAR is 3.461 per labor hour, then we need some for all the products X, Y, and Z. We need some labor hours per unit. We need some labor hours per unit. So if the labor hours per unit are not given, we can't calculate production overhead per unit. So for this scenario, what we will do? For this scenario, what we will do? See, I'm going to tell you one technique. If in any case, each unit of product takes the same number of direct labor hours, like for example xyz taking same number of labor hours, in that case if the labor hours are not given, you can take units as the base, like this units 1000 plus 2000 plus 3000, you can use units as a base, because it will not like be if I can say that it's not like will get wrong, it will not get wrong. So that's why you can use here units as the base where each product is taking same number of direct hours, right? So let us calculate is the unit total number of units are 6,000. So 156,000 divided by 6,000, it's 26 per unit. $26 per unit. It's we have calculated directly, but it's only the case if all the products are taking the same labor hours, same labor hours. Okay, okay. Now what we have to do? Now what we have to do? We know that according to the absorption OER, we use the unit 26 per unit, and obviously for X, for Y, or for and for Z, 26, 26, and 26 per unit will be same, because obviously it's per unit, because labor hours were same, just like let me tell you one thing. We have done the question, this one, their labor hours were same. Simple. Their labor hours were same. You understand that? You understand it that their labor hours were same, 5 and 5. So that's why what was the production per overhead per unit? 31.82 and 31.82. I told you, na? I told you in that scenario that if labor hours are same, their production overhead per unit will be same. And if in case labor hours are not given, you can use directly units In case if they clearly says that all the product is taking same labor hours, you can just calculate per unit and it will be same for all the products. So it is 26, 26, and 26 for all of them. Now what we will do, we will calculate according to the ABC. According to ABC, first we'll calculate OAR. OAR is obviously now delivery overhead. How much? 156,000. 156,000 divided by 156,000 divided by the total number of deliveries, divided by total number of deliveries. Okay. Okay. Now we know that for the delivery overheads, the base will be number of deliveries, number of deliveries. But again, there is a issue. They have not given you delivery number of delivery. They have given you delivery size. Delivery size means that how many units you will deliver in one like one route, how many units you will go, that will go. So it's written for X 200 units, for Y, for Z 401,000 units of the units in the one route, right? So what we'll do, we'll calculate number of deliveries. See, X has total 1,000 units and one delivery size is 200, means 1,000 divided by 200, number of deliveries for X will be 5. Number of, like, 5 deliveries, 200 units per delivery. So 200 into 5, 1,000. Same for it, again 5, because 200,000 divided by 400, and 3 deliveries here. So total it will be 13 deliveries. Again, listen, they have not given you number of deliveries. They have given you delivery size and total units. So always, if it's given units per batch, units per setup, or units per delivery, like delivery size, so you have to just divide the total units on that to calculate this the actual figure. So 13 is number of deliveries. So we know the total for total $156,000. It is according to 13 deliveries, that will come 12,000 per delivery, 10,000, 12,000 per delivery. Now we will calculate one by one cost for all of them. Cost for all of them. Let's calculate for X, for Y, or for Z. For X, if we see, it's 12,000 per delivery. Again, OAR is same for all of them per delivery, and 12,000 per delivery. And we will now multiply the total number of delivery for the number of delivery X, Y, and Z is taking. It's 5, 5, and 3. 5, 5, and 3. It's 5, 5, and 3. It will come 60,000, again 60,000, and 36,000. This is the total delivery cost all products are incurring. But we don't need the total, we need per unit, because we have here, according to absorption, we have 26, 26, and 26. Now we are using ABC, we need production overhead for comparison, production overhead per unit for comparison. So just divide this 60,000 to the units. How many units are there? If you see, 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000. So divided by 1,000, divided by 2,000, and divided by 3,000. It will be 60, it will be 30, and it will be 36,000 divided by 3,000 will be 12. 60, 30, and 12. Now if you see, when absorption is being used, X was giving you 26 per unit and now 60. It means product X cost per unit increased. Y was giving 26, but now it's 30. Again, it's increased. And Z was giving you 26, and now it's 12. That means product Z production cost per unit will, production overhead per unit will decrease. So sometimes this type of question comes, that where he is saying that absorption, according to absorption data, calculate production overhead per unit, then according to ABC calculate and just compare whether it's increasing or decreasing. Sometimes it asks you in numbers, just take the difference of that for the answer. For one product, for two products, like here he's asking for three, all the products. Okay. Now this is the question. This is the question. This question I will tell you to do in assignment. I am doing it. I am doing it right now myself. I am doing it right now myself. But first, pause the video. Do it yourself. Do it yourself. It's the last question of the MC Kaplan. So I'm like, I want you to do this question first yourself, then see the solution. Please, please. It's very important for you. Okay, so if you see, DRP Limited has recently introduced ABC. Okay, these are some all the details and all the cost. They're asking just to calculate machine setup cost per unit of hour. Only this machine setup, not asking for purchasing or material. They're just asking machine setup cost per unit of R. You have three products D, R, and P. Okay, let us calculate. We know that always first calculate OAR. For machine setup, 150,000 is the total cost divided by, we have to see the base. Base is for the machine setup cost. The base will be machine setups, obviously number of setups. But here it's given machine setup per batch. Here it's given machine setup per batch again, not the total machine setups. So if it's per batch, let it multiply with the number of batches. Let it multiply with the number of batches. Now find the batches. If you see again, batch number of batches are not given. Batch size is given, just delivery size like last question. Batch size is given and number of units are given. I have told you again and again, never forget this point. 100,000 divided by 100 means 1,000 batch, 1,000 number of batches will be made for D. 2,000 will be made for 2,000, sorry, 3,000 batches will be made for B. I'm divided total number of units divided by batch size, and for this 50,000 divided by 25, I think 2,000. Okay, 2,000 batches will be made for P. So we know that 1,000 batch plus 2,000 batch plus 2,000 batch. We don't have to calculate that. We have to calculate, basically multiply machine setup per batch. So we know 1,000 batch into 3 will get 3,000 setups of D. 2,000 into 4, 8,000 machine setups for R. 2,000 to 6, 12,000 machine setup for this. Okay, so it is like 12 plus 8 plus 3. It's 23,000 total setups. 23,000 total setups, machine setups. So we'll calculate 150,000 divided by 23,000. 150,000 divided by 23,000. It's 6.522 per setup. Now we have to calculate for the product R. Just multiply what we have to do for R. How you will calculate? You know that base means OAR. You have calculated 6.522. Multiply how many setups R was having? 8,000. Multiply it with 8,000. It will be calculated 52,181.91. It's total cost of the machine setup that will go to R, but they're asking for per unit. So just divide by unit, just divide by number of units. No, units are 100,000. Units are 100,000. Answer will be 0.52. Answer will be 0.5248. Answer will be 0.5248. Here, your ABC questions are ended. One question I have given you in assignment, just very simple, 37. If you are not having the kit, just contact me on WhatsApp. Obviously, you will be having my WhatsApp number, but if in case you are not having my WhatsApp personal number, so it is +923044325290. Contact me, take the kit from me, and do the regular practice. We have done in the class, but it doesn't mean you are like just going to rest and all that. Do the practice properly, bhai. Okay, so meet you guys in the next class. ABC is ended here. Allah Hafiz.